Hey, Vector family, it's Luke Lee Singh again here from the Vector Algorithmics team. Today I'm joined by a trader actually in our community that made me literally laugh out loud the other day. I think it was on Wednesday. It was on Wednesday, Tim, where we were on a four trade win streak, and then you made a comment in our Discord channel. You said something along the lines of, "Oh, four green days in a row. Where are the haters at now?" So, what was that about?
Well, the week before there was a whole chat. We lost. There was one day out of probably 7 or 8 wins that was blowing up someone's account, and it turned into a whining fest. Well, one guy was like, "Oh my God, you have making demands and not taking responsibility for his own actions," and a whole bunch of other people were piling on, and I was just like, "What the fuck, man?" I don't know if it's a swearing pod, but nonetheless, I was like, "What's going on? What the heck? What's everyone doing?" And why can't we just be adults and realize this is about the numbers? It's a percentage game. You're in it for the long term. You're not going to be a millionaire fast doing this for a living. And I've been around trading for a long time and futures trading for since 2008 ish, 7 or 8, 9, somewhere in that range. And it's a sprint. I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have to take it's slow. It's methodical. It's one trade a day. Just chill out and relax. Let the percentages play the game to your benefit.
Sometimes it's refreshing for when experienced traders such as yourself are able to chime in and maybe correct some of the newer guys that are just getting started because it's like some of us on the team sound like a broken record just
Yeah.
correcting some of these guys that don't understand the numbers, right? So when we have different people giving their advice and their game plan really when it comes to this kind of stuff, it helps. But before we even get into like any of the good stuff, Tim, like why don't you tell our listeners what it is that you do for work and how that balances with your trading game.
Well, I'm a fractional CFO, and I work for I have a client base of producers who make a lot of TV movies in for Hallmark and Lifetime, and other clients who make a bunch of award show content, like the Oscars, and they work on those award shows that roll around the calendar throughout the year. And so my background is finance. It's physical logistics. I came up as a line producer working in television and feature film for a long time. I started as a tape op in '85 and got in the seat of CFO in 2009. So I spent 17 years on the road making movies, chasing them all over the world. And so my background of finance is more like it comes from a rational, statistical, strategic place. It's not emotional. It's about moving people around the world safely and efficiently, delivering on budget, and with the creative vision of the people who've been given a pile of money to make something. So that's my background. So when I came to trading, it wasn't like I was new to it. It wasn't like I just came out of the blue and didn't understand finance. And one of the things about my job is I do a lot of forex trading, not in the forex markets like what you see, people scalping for whatever pips a day. Actually trading against time and hedging exchange rate risk over time. So we make movies in Canada. We spend a couple million today, and we're going to collect some kind of tax credit in anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Well, we have to hedge that risk because there's a lot of risk and volatility in the market. So I understand how the systems work and how they operate. And I also understand how there are big pockets of money around the world that control everything we do. Whether you like to hear it or not, it is true. And it's not like there's a bunch of dudes in suits going, "Yeah, we're going to screw these people." They're just trying to make money like everybody else. So I have a sense of how the system works. I don't understand it at a high level, like I'm some kind of I can read the tea leaves. I can't. There's no way anybody can. But I at least understand how the system functions, and it's not a mystery to me. So trading was kind of a natural evolution into how can I supplement my income working as a CFO and do something I enjoy doing. I like it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm of the same belief as well that the markets are impacted heavily by what we call market makers and some of these
Yeah.
guys behind the scenes. They're not necessarily what you would imagine as like some crook behind the scenes that just wants to wipe everybody out. They just want to make money.
Exactly.
And if you want to call them crooks, you can call them crooks. Some people would argue that they are. but I think that they're just here to move the markets in a way that they can get a piece of it, right? So that being said, a lot of our algos are actually developed with that in mind. Like, where are the big institutions targeting their key levels, right? And that's
Right.
why a lot of our strategies, they're not high frequency trading bots. Like, we like to take one trade a day and capture the largest move based on what the daily bias is that day. I'm glad you mentioned about your job being already in finance and having that background. Would you say, since going into trading and seeing drawdown, did that ever help your mindset when it comes to seeing drawdown? Because you joined us in August, and obviously we're very vocal about it. September was a losing month. Like,
Yeah.
where does your head go when you see drawdown, especially when you just learn about a company like Vector, and in your second month you see some drawdown?
Well, I'll be honest. The first place I go is, oh my God, did I make a mistake? Is this not going to work? And let me go look in at the data. And what did I do wrong? And then when I get into the data and I start going back and testing, for me, it's all about collecting information to see what works. Certainly, my first reaction is, oh no, did I make a mistake? My second reaction is, all right, what actually happened? Let's go analyze it. And September, between rollover in the futures markets and it just being a terrible, choppy month after a killer increase from April after liquidation day on April, whatever that was, in early April of 2025, it's bound to just flatten and turn ugly. So I was looking at the macro environment. I was looking at how trades had executed in August and July after downloading some data and running the algorithms in playback. And I started to look at it and I'm like, okay. And when I say look at it, I mean like looking at the tick data, getting into seconds and not just minutes or hours, and just understanding what's actually going on. And I was like, okay, the probability, and looking at the results spreadsheet that you guys publish going back for, whatever, a couple of years in some cases, depending on the automation that you guys have built. I started to realize, I was like, okay, it takes the emotional part out of trading. And statistically, over time, this works. I can see it. I can see tangible results and see that on my own testing data, not just yours. I'm looking at it going, okay, this makes sense. And then I calm down and I just rationally look at it and go, okay, what am I going to do? I'm in a big drawdown in September. I got to stay in the game. What do I do? Well, I start scaling back contracts. I'm like, how do I stay in the game and not blow up on my account? That's the key to the game. This is not a this is not a picking the right trade game. This is a game about managing your money and staying at the table. That's all it is. So I, turned on the rational brain and said, how do I stay in the game? And for this, it's turning on smaller size and just chipping away at it day after day.
So I actually didn't know that. What you said is very interesting, and ideas now start to spark in my brain. So you went ahead and fact checked our results by back testing it and playbacking it all yourself, and then
Yeah.
that's when you came to the conclusion, okay, this is actually a profitable algorithm.
Yeah. So I could only go back 90 days because I didn't want to go hunt down data. I downloaded the data I could off of Ninja to be able to go back and play back. And I was just comparing what I was getting in my own playback to your guys' results sheet and going, okay, this is not made up nonsense. This is real. And seeing how the trades execute and having a bit of an understanding. I mean, my background is understanding the markets is through the perspective of market profile, which is a Stottlemyre idea going back, I think, to the 70s or the 80s, a long time. And having read his material and understanding high volume areas and how the markets move and half hour increments of trading, I have a better sense of how and why markets move and why people do things that they do. And this is an emotional game. Well, let me rephrase that. The way the markets manipulate people to make an emotional decision from the outside is using price. And that's the Stottlemyre idea. I mean, if I'm to distill it down, he's not put it in those terms, but that's my own perspective of what he does and how they analyze the markets. So when I started to look at what you guys were doing in comparison to market profile and how your automation was operating, I was like, okay, this actually makes sense compared to what I understand and believe about the market. And that's what got me over that hurdle of drawdown and be like, all right, how do I stay in this game? And what's the next move? What's my next strategy to stay in the game?
That being said, like, from from August until now at the end of November, what's your experience been like with the Vector team, both from I guess just user experience, the community, with the team, and as well as overall performance and profit?
Yeah.
Have you actually looked at other companies outside of Vector
Yeah.
before joining? Yeah.
Before I went down the path, so I was a manual trader for a long time, and I learned from a trader, a floor trader, a guy called Larry Levin, and was moderately successful doing it. Blew up an account, whatever, 2010, 11, and then turned that into slowly pouring more money into it. I learned how to turn that into a profit. And actually, I learned the most from one of his traders, a guy called Dan O'Brien. But putting that aside for a second, um, I understood the system worked. I knew people made money doing it, but the reason I bring up how I learned and the fact that I manually traded, I'm a terrible manual trader, so I recognize that after many years. I was average at best. I was making money, but not a lot of money. I was seeing other people around me in other groups I was in doing very well, and they were savages. They're really good at it. I'm not that guy. Recognizing that I'm not that guy that's really good at it, I started looking around and going, how can I do better? About a year and a half ago, and I came to automation. And before I landed on you guys, I had tried a couple of systems, and they weren't for me. They were either too aggressive or it wasn't the right kind of market. It wasn't like they were bad people. It just wasn't a right fit for me. So then I started to look at all of the ads I was getting, because I was getting a lot of Insta and YouTube ads about algorithmic trading and companies like yours. And I spoke to probably 30 or 40 of them. No, I should take that back. I probably spoke to a dozen, but I had researched 30 or 40 of them. Made a list, like what do they do, what markets do they play in, and just started checking off the ones I wasn't interested in, and then started booking calls with the ones I was interested in. That distilled down to about a dozen. There were two or three companies that weren't, for lack of a better word, that weren't just full of shit. And a lot of them were. It was just aggressive, overly aggressive in markets, explaining how compounding interest works. And if you spend 5% a month, you're going to be a millionaire. It's like, come on. I've been doing this too long. I know better. So between the two or three I landed on, you guys were one of them. And I just liked the approach. And the sales rep I was talking to was like, look, it either works or it doesn't. It's up to you. It's your choice, right? So it just made a lot of sense to me. And that's how I made my decision, and yeah, that's how I landed on Vector. And you guys have
Oh, yeah.
proven my decision, I think, to be the right one.
Amazing, man. And I appreciate those kind words. And now, like here in November, where are we at in terms of profit wise, especially considering the drawdown you saw in September?
Yeah, in September, my drawdown. So I wound up 10 accounts, or I should say, I got 10 accounts out of evaluation into PA on Apex in the first week and a half ish. And then drawdown happened for me in September. And all of those PA accounts were within $500 of being blown up. And that's when I just ground down to one contract and just kept playing the same game every day. And I'll be honest, there was one day you guys call it a big back day, which makes me laugh, by the way. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Where you see the drawdown go almost all the way to the stop loss and it just fires off into take profit one and take profit two. That happened a couple days, and my finger was on the button. I wanted to bail, and I was like, just relax, dude. Just stay in the program. Just get away from it. And I just got away from the screen, and it turned around and made money. But the answer to your question is, I was almost blown up. I almost blew up 10 accounts. Went to small size, and over the past, October and early November, ground those back up to $6,200 in profit across the 10 accounts. I think one or two of them are still around the original $50,000 account size, and those are the account sizes I operate. So
Got it. Got it. That's awesome. So you go from give or take minus 2 grand to plus 6,200 across the board.
yeah,
Um, and honestly, Tim, what I would say that I appreciate a lot about your style is just the very, as you would say, rational approach to it. Just what's the numbers, like what are the numbers, and what's the game plan from here? Like let's just be as logical as possible and just remove the emotions. That being said, my last question for you, and we can close this off, is what's a piece of advice you'd give to someone that's new, because you've been in the game since you said 2008, right? So
Yeah.
You've been around in the trading game for some time. What's one piece of advice you would give to a new trader or a new algo investor that wants to get started? And how can that person, that new trader, new investor, get started and not have to make the same mistakes that you did over the last 15 plus years?
Um, well, there's so many, it's hard to pick, but I think the sort of generally speaking, you have to remember when you're coming into this game, you're competing with savages, dudes and women sitting in Wall Street making millions of dollars on hundreds of millions in assets for the people who run the big banks. They not only are bankers, they're also traders. They have trading desks. Those are the people you're competing against. And there are as many ways to make money in the market as there are people in the world. And some work and some really work and some don't work, but you're competing against those people. And you have to get as smart as them, as educated as them, read as much material as you possibly can, and understand that whoever tells you they make money, they may or may not, but there are millions of ways to make money in these markets. And you just have to find the one that suits your temperament and your style. I'd been around it long enough to know what my temperament was, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, recognize my faults, and realize I needed to get into some kind of automation. So for me, Vector was a good place to find automation, get out of the manual game, and get rid of the emotional. For me, I react emotionally. I'll be honest. When I see the red on the screen, I wanna get out. And when I see green, like a couple of nickels, I'm like, let's take it, take it, take it, take it. And I don't stay, and I don't naturally want to stay in for the longer haul that you guys have set up on grass-fed prime beef. But when I'm patient and I keep my finger off the mouse, it works. So it's patience, get some knowledge, and get around people who really understand this game.
Tim, honestly, lots of great advice. Some of the things you said, a lot of other people that we've interviewed haven't mentioned it before. So I like, what really stood out to me was the fact that you tested everything and fact checked everything yourself. So, Tim, thank you so much for your time today, brother, and looking forward to chatting again in the future.
My pleasure. Have a good one.